People do not slowly decide who they can control. The decision happens fast, often in the first minutes, not through logic and not through what you say, but through what your nervous system reveals, your timing, your tone, your posture, and your reactions under mild pressure. Control starts as a test. Someone interrupts you, questions a small detail, changes their tone, or introduces a hint of tension. Then they watch. Do you rush to explain? Do you soften? Do you over-clarify? Do you try to repair the mood? Every quick adjustment is data. Picture two people being questioned at work about the same issue. The first person starts explaining immediately. They add background nobody asked for. They justify their intent. Their voice speeds up, their words become crowded, and they keep talking until the other person looks satisfied. The second person listens, pauses, and answers only what was asked. No extra story, no emotional scrambling, nothing rude, just measured. The first person gets pushed harder next time because they proved something. Pressure makes them move. Here is a simple rule that most people miss. People do not control those they respect. They control those they understand too well. The more clearly someone can read your emotional pattern, the easier it becomes to guide you. Criticism is one of the fastest ways people measure access. Someone says, "I don't agree with how you handled that." If your first impulse is to justify, "What I meant was," you reveal that disapproval shakes your balance. Now the other person knows where to press. Compare that to a calm, contained response. "I hear you." Same moment, different signal. Silence is another test. Silence creates pressure. Many people rush to break it. They fill the space with extra words, nervous laughter, or reassurance. But if you cannot hold silence, you cannot hold tension. And tension is where control is applied. The person who stays calm in silence is saying without words, "I don't need to earn safety here." Availability is another major signal. If you reply instantly every time, you are not just being polite. You are becoming predictable. Predictability tells people your attention is always open, your time adjusts easily, and access to you is simple. And access is the foundation of control. Watch how this plays out in everyday life. A friend texts, "Call me now." If you drop everything, you teach them that urgency works on you. A colleague sends a late message with quick question. If you answer immediately every time, you teach them your boundaries are flexible. A family member sighs dramatically, and you rush to fix their mood. You teach them that emotional pressure buys compliance. These tests are often small, and they don't always come from bad people. Sometimes people test control because they are anxious. Sometimes because they are used to being accommodated. Sometimes because they simply want certainty. But the mechanism is the same. They apply a little tension and see whether you manage it or whether you manage them. Over-apologizing is another signal. When you apologize for your tone, your schedule, your needs, or your boundaries, you are telling people your presence requires permission. Even "sorry, just checking" can become a habit that broadcasts, "Please don't be upset with me." Someone who wants control hears that and thinks, "I can make you work for my approval." Another signal is negotiating with your own boundary. You say no, then immediately follow it with 5 reasons. You offer alternatives. You promise to make it up. You speak as if your boundary is a problem to solve. A controller learns your no is not final. It's the start of bargaining. This is why emotionally generous people are often targeted. They care. They want harmony. They want to be understood. They feel responsible for others' comfort. None of that is a flaw, but it can become leverage when someone notices that you will trade your boundaries for peace. Notice the pattern. Control does not require dominance. It requires permission. Permission is given when your reactions are automatic and readable, when someone can predict what will make you explain, apologize, or chase approval. The decision is already made. You can be steered. The goal is not to become cold or aggressive. The goal is to understand what is being measured. People decide who they can control by watching who cannot tolerate discomfort, silence, disagreement, uncertainty, or a simple no. When you can tolerate those moments without collapsing into explanation, you quietly remove their leverage. And remember, control is often decided before conflict appears. It is decided when you hesitate, when you laugh to reduce tension, when you rush to be liked. Those tiny signals tell people whether pressure will move you or bounce off. It's quieter than you think. Okay, now that you understand how people decide who they can control, the real value comes from knowing how to quietly remove yourself from that category. This is not about confrontation, dominance, or trying to intimidate anyone. In fact, those approaches often create more resistance and invite more testing. The people who are hardest to control rarely push back aggressively. They change their behavior in subtle but consistent ways. The first practical shift is learning to pause. When someone asks you an unexpected question, your instinct might be to answer immediately. Most people do this because silence feels uncomfortable. Instead, pause for 2 seconds. Not dramatically, not awkwardly, just enough to show that you are choosing your response. This pause signals internal stability. It tells the other person that pressure does not rush you. Here is a simple example. A colleague suddenly asks, "Why did you do it that way?" If you answer instantly, you may start defending yourself without realizing it. If you pause briefly and then respond calmly, you change the dynamic. The question no longer controls the pace of the interaction. You do. The second shift is stopping the habit of over-explaining. Over-explaining usually comes from a good place. You want to be clear. You want to avoid misunderstanding. But when you explain without being asked, you reveal insecurity about how you are perceived. People who are hard to control allow mild misunderstanding to exist. Imagine someone says, "So you're saying this was your fault?" Most people rush to correct this. They say, No, that's not what I meant," and then begin a long explanation. A more grounded response would be, "That's one way to see it. This does not mean you agree. It means you are not emotionally pulled into defending yourself." The leverage disappears. Another powerful adjustment is slowing your emotional speed. Control often comes down to who reacts faster. If someone raises their voice, lower yours. If someone pushes for an immediate decision, delay it. When you slow down emotionally, the other person is forced to adjust. Pressure loses effectiveness when it meets calm. Think about how often people use urgency to get compliance. "I need an answer right now. This has to be done today. Just a quick favor." When you automatically comply, you teach others that urgency works on you. A simple response like, "I'll think about it and get back to you," changes that pattern. No explanation is required. No apology is necessary. Another area where control shows up is emotional responsibility. Many people feel responsible for keeping situations comfortable. If someone is upset, they rush to fix it. If there is tension, they try to smooth it over. People who are hard to control allow others to sit with their own emotions. They do not absorb discomfort that does not belong to them. For example, someone sighs heavily or acts disappointed, clearly hoping you will respond. Instead of immediately reassuring them, you pause. You stay neutral. This often feels uncomfortable at first, but it breaks a powerful pattern. Emotional pressure stops working when it no longer produces a reaction. One of the most important principles is predictability. Control depends on knowing what will move you. When people cannot easily predict your reactions, they stop testing. Calm, measured responses make you difficult to read. And when you are difficult to read, you are difficult to control. This does not mean becoming cold or distant. It means becoming selective. You choose when to engage emotionally and when not to. You choose when to explain and when to stay brief. Over time, people adjust their behavior around you. They speak more carefully, they push less, they assume less access. Eventually, something subtle happens. People stop trying to control you, not because you confronted them, but because it no longer works. There is no reward for the effort, no predictable reaction, no emotional leverage. That is how control disappears, quietly, naturally, without conflict, without drama, just through consistency and inner stability.